they are rising. From the turquoise depths of the Pacific, colossal shapes ascend, ghost ships of Bikini Atoll. Once mighty warships, now silent steel tombs, they're breaking the surface after decades on the seabed. As the ocean warms and sea levels shift, these radioactive relics are surfacing, carrying a deadly legacy. These are not just shipwrecks, they are ticking radioactive time bombs. The coral that once encased them is dying, and the structures are unstable, leaking plutonium and other toxins. Ocean currents threaten to spread contamination far beyond the atoll, endangering distant coastlines and fisheries. The rising ships force us to confront the reality that our nuclear history is not buried, it's resurfacing. Who is responsible for these monuments to destruction? How do we contain a threat both massive and microscopic? The Bikini Atoll fleet is a slow-motion disaster, a radioactive secret refusing to stay submerged. This is a story of forgotten promises and environmental neglect, now bubbling up from the depths. Before the bombs, Bikini Atoll was a paradise, a ring of coral islands, home to a thriving community. The Bikinian people lived in harmony with the land and sea, their culture woven into the rhythms of nature. In 1946, everything changed. The US chose Bikini as a nuclear test site, promising the islanders a temporary exile. Trusting outsiders, the Bikinians left, beginning a painful journey of displacement. Operation Crossroads turned the lagoon into a laboratory of destruction, assembling a fleet of warships for atomic testing. The first bomb, Able, was dropped from above. The second, Baker, detonated underwater, unleashing radioactive tidal waves. The lagoon was poisoned, the island scarred, and the ships became radioactive wrecks. Over 12 years, 23 nuclear devices obliterated the paradise, leaving it one of the most contaminated places on Earth. The Bikinians' home was sacrificed in the name of global security. Their exile became permanent, their culture fractured. Bikini Atoll became a symbol of atomic devastation. The world moved on, but the poison remained. The paradise was lost, and its people left to bear the cost. The fleet at Bikini was a museum of naval power. Giants like the USS Saratoga and the Japanese battleship Nagato. These ships, prepared for war, were filled with fuel and ammunition, making them environmental hazards as well as radioactive relics. The underwater Baker blast fused radioactive isotopes into the ship's steel, turning them into permanent sources of deadly radiation. Plutonium and other toxins now leak from their corroding hulls, poisoning the lagoon. Today, the Ghost Fleet attracts daring divers, but strict protocols are needed to avoid radiation exposure. The USS Saratoga sits eerily upright, its form still visible beneath the waves. These vessels are both historical artifacts and radiological hazards, a chilling legacy of the atomic age. The lagoon is a graveyard of steel and poison. The past is not resting quietly beneath the surface. For years, the sunken fleet was out of sight, presumed safely contained by the ocean's depths. But climate change is rewriting that story. Rising sea levels and powerful storms are exposing and destabilizing the wrecks, stripping away protective silt. The USS Saratoga's hull now shows new signs of collapse. A major storm could rupture these corroded ships, releasing radioactive plumes into the Pacific. Ocean currents could carry contamination far beyond Bikini, threatening marine life and human communities. The feedback loop is terrifying. Our industrial age fuels climate change, which now unearths its own toxic legacy. We thought we buried the problem, but it's returning, demanding our attention. The Ghost Fleet is a lesson in unintended consequences, rising with the tide. Scientists have studied Bikini Atoll as a living laboratory of resilience and danger. Corals have mutated to survive radiation, but life here is forever altered. Sharks and fish thrive, yet accumulate radioactive toxins, raising questions about long-term genetic effects. The ecosystem appears healthy, but masks a deeper reality of constant, low-level radiation. For the Bikinians, the legacy is tragic. Attempts to resettle ended in disaster as radiation poisoned their food and bodies. Many suffer from health problems. Their community remains scattered and exiled. Their voices speak of loss, betrayal, and a culture severed from its roots. Their atoll remains forbidden, a human echo of the contamination that saturates the land. The cost is measured not just in environmental damage, but in broken lives and lost heritage. Bikini's poison endures, both in the earth and in its people. The rising ghost fleet has sparked a global debate. Who is responsible for this nuclear mess? The US established a trust fund for the Bikinians, but it's nowhere near enough for a massive cleanup. Bikini Atoll belongs to the Marshall Islands, but US defense agreements muddy the waters of responsibility. No one has stepped forward to claim ownership, and the danger grows unchecked. The Pacific's currents could spread contamination across continents, threatening food security and economies. This is not just a local issue, it's a global risk. Other nuclear legacy sites exist worldwide. How we handle Bikini sets a precedent. If we let legal and financial arguments stall action, we risk disaster. The world stands at a crossroads, forced to confront the ghosts of the atomic age. Imagine descending into the lagoon's blue silence, the USS Saratoga looming out of the gloom. As a diver, you're dwarfed by history, gliding over a flight deck now patrolled by sharks. Inside, darkness reigns. Corridors frozen in time, machinery silent for decades. The dosimeter on your wrist clicks faster as you move deeper, a constant reminder of invisible danger. In the ship's core, a faint blue glow, Cherenkov radiation, marks the atom's deadly power. It's a chilling sight, a silent scream from the past. Leaving the wreck, the psychological weight lingers. You've witnessed the enduring legacy of our quest for power. This is not just a dive site, it's an active radiological hazard. The consequences of our past actions wait silently in the dark. Bikini Atoll's story is not just about science or geopolitics, it's a human tragedy. The Bikinians were uprooted, their culture torn apart, their trust betrayed. Forced into exile, they suffered malnutrition, disease, and the loss of their homeland. Radiation brought illness and birth defects, a hidden cost paid by innocence. Their traditions withered in exile, their identity fractured. The bombs destroyed not just islands, but a people's soul. Today, the Bikinians fight to keep their culture alive, monitoring their home from afar. Their continued exile is a living indictment of the atomic age. The ghost ships are monuments to power. The Bikinians are a testament to its true cost. The rising ghost fleet is a warning, not just an environmental curiosity. These ships are messengers from a past we tried to bury, now returning to haunt us. The ocean is not a dumping ground, it's a living system, now delivering our hazardous legacy back to us. The threat is global. Radioactive contamination could spread across the Pacific, impacting millions. The health of our oceans is vital to our survival. This is a shared responsibility, a test of our collective will. The story of Bikini Atoll forces us to confront the consequences of unchecked technological power. The plutonium in these ships will outlast civilizations. The rising ships demand action before it's too late. The ghosts are rising. How will we answer their call?